welcome to Laird Wellness Live. We are happy you joined us tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening, Scott Laird, Jodi Laird,
Mm-hmm.
Laird Wellness. And we have some very interesting information tonight, some information that I thought was very kind of opposite of what a lot of people might think about the sunlight, about sunlight and vitamin D.
Okay.
Yep.
You've done your research this week?
I have indeed, because summer's coming and everybody is starting to get out in the sun. I mean, today in where we live in Kings Mountain, it was what? It was
81.
81 degrees. 81 degrees here. So,
nice.
Not bad for March. I'll take that. In fact, I was out mowing the grass about 2 hours ago. So good stuff.
Yes.
Anyway, so yes, exciting stuff. Thank you for joining us. We are actually starting our next, by the way, our Biologic Blueprint group on Monday. We have a whole bunch of people starting all at once. We're doing something new. We're doing a group session and then individual sessions the following week, and we're kind of switching it up like that. So that should be lots of fun. Thank you for everyone who has signed up, and you can still sign up if you want.
Yep.
In fact, I'll give you the information right here. It is at lairdwellness.com/blueprint if you want to talk to us and see if it's right for you. No obligation. We'll talk to you for about 20 minutes or so and tell you whether it's or tell you what it's all about, and you can decide whether it's for you. Okay, so we can do that for you. So anyway, that is our Blueprint program. But tonight we want to talk about vitamin D. So there's this notion out there that being in the sun causes skin cancer.
Yeah.
And the answer to that is yes and no. So it can, but it doesn't have to.
Right.
Now the key is not to burn. Now who hasn't burned at least once in their life if you have skin like us?
I totally have burned many times over.
Yeah, so that is where you get into, a dicey situation. So you don't want to burn. That, of course, increases your risk of skin cancer. Any dermatologist will tell you that. However, not every dermatologist will tell you that, boy, our skin color just changed. That was weird. The camera just did something weird.
Sunshine.
Anyway, that's okay. Yeah, so they won't tell you that your best defense against melanoma is a tan acquired gradually without burning. That is also a very good defense against melanoma, because then you're getting sunlight gradually. You're not getting it all at once. Yeah, interesting stuff. Now, of course, you can get basal cells and that kind of thing, and those are cancerous as well, but they're not nearly as dangerous as melanoma. Melanoma is the one that everyone fears.
Right.
So there was some interesting information I found that you might find interesting as well, and I wanted to show it to you tonight. This is a study from PubMed. You know me, I like to go to PubMed.
Yep.
PubMed.com, and that's where you'll find every research paper ever written is always there. So let's take a look at what they said about the relationship between vitamin D and skin cancer.
Okay.
So they said vitamin D, VDR, which is vitamin D receptors. Those are the receptors on virtually every cell we're finding out now that your body needs vitamin D. So that signaling inhibits something or other, mediated melanoma progression, and promotes anti-tumor immunity. Okay, so what you need to read from this line, we're going to simplify it for you, but basically vitamin D basically inhibits melanoma progression and promotes anti-tumor immunity. That's what you need. So basically, it's good for you. Okay, so that's basically what we're saying. And now here is the explanation of said study right here from Cancer Research UK. This is a magazine in the UK, online magazine, and they say vitamin D dials down the aggression in melanoma cells. Okay, well that's a lot easier to understand.
Right.
So basically it's what vitamin D does is it blocks melanoma's ability to grow.
Okay.
That's essentially what we're saying here. So that's pretty cool. So here's
kind of an oxymoron.
It is kind of oxymoron because nobody expects that.
Right.
Because you get vitamin D. People go, wait a minute. I thought you get vitamin D from the sun. And you're telling me the sun inhibits melanoma progression.
Yeah, crazy.
When taken properly? Yes. Check this out. So it says when the cantinin pathway is active in melanoma, it can dampen down the immune response, causing fewer immune cells to reach the inside of the tumor. So that's what this pathway does if it is given free rein. Okay?
Okay.
So that's how that works. Now, here is how it helps. Due to vitamin D's role in increasing protective signaling pathways in those tissues while preventing harmful ones, why did I highlight that? Let's just read the whole thing. That didn't make any sense. So why does vitamin D deficiency lead to such a dramatic increase in the risk for having America's #1 disease, vitamin D deficiency? It's because the heart muscle, blood vessels, and other circulatory system components are rich in vitamin D receptors, VDR, which means they depend heavily on vitamin D for optimum function, okay? So animals bred to have no vitamin D receptors have cardiovascular disease at an early age.
Okay.
And end up with enlarged dysfunctional hearts. Now, this is also true in humans for things like colon cancer.
Right.
We all remember the young star who played Black Panther.
Right. I don't know his name, but yes.
Yeah, and so he died of colon cancer at only, what was he, 40 years old?
I don't even know.
A really sad story, but it's because basically, I mean, unfortunately, folks with darker skin have a harder time getting vitamin D, and I don't know if that played into things, but boy, that sure rings a red or flies a red flag with me.
Yeah.
That he was African American. He died at a young age of colon cancer, and I wonder if he knew that vitamin D was very, very important for him, and that it was actually harder for his body to absorb than someone with light skin.
Right.
So actually, folks with darker skin need to be in the sun 5 to 6 times longer than people with lighter skin.
Wow.
As a matter of fact.
And we all need the vitamin D no matter what color our skin is.
Yes.
It's something we all need.
That's absolutely right. So animals bred to have no vitamin D receptors had cardiovascular disease at an early age, right? Okay, so that's that.
Mm-hmm.
And then these effects are likely due, here we go, to vitamin D's role in increasing protective signaling pathways in those tissues while preventing harmful ones.
Okay.
So that's how this works. In addition, vitamin D is required to prevent the excessive buildup of collagen and other fibrotic proteins that stiffen heart muscle. Okay, so that all has to do with the heart. But you see there, these effects are likely due to vitamin D's role in increasing protective signaling pathways. So basically, the more vitamin D that a person absorbs, it gets in the way of melanoma's ability to reproduce. So you're slowing it down. Now, it doesn't cure colon cancer, but it doesn't cure any kind of cancer, melanoma specifically. Let's get back on the topic with melanoma. But what it does is it gives the researchers an aha moment that goes, aha, so vitamin D stops melanoma production. So what other cancer production will it stop?
Oh, wow.
So that's what they're looking at now, because that research is not necessarily new. There's been some new spins on it, but that particular research you saw was from 2019.
Okay.
And there's more research going on now, and they've been researching this since 2011.
Right.
Yeah, so that is pretty cool that they've been looking at that since that time. So now here is something interesting I want you to see regarding this whole vitamin D scenario. This is a slide from a presentation by our doctor friend, Dr. Tom Lewis.
Yes.
Yes, who is part of our Biologic Blueprint program.
Yes.
He developed, go ahead.
No, I'm just great to talk to him on a daily basis.
Yes,
absolutely.
He's an awesome guy. I just talked to him today about something.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he is the one that developed the blood test that you take on our program. Right. And then he's actually the one that you talk to after you do the blood test. Now, he didn't invent the blood. You don't invent a blood test. There's just blood tests out there for everything. But the way it is processed and the way he puts things together to say you are at risk of this or you are at risk for that, he's actually patented that process. I mean, it's that specialized.
Right.
So he knows a lot of stuff, and he has webinars every week. He's a brilliant guy. I mean, I don't
MIT grad.
He's an MIT grad. He's a PhD from MIT, LMNOP. And and he does webinars every week. I'm so busy I don't get to watch all of them, but I see them come through in my email. I'm like, I want to watch that one. And he puts them all up on YouTube. So if you look at, you go on YouTube and you'll find Health Revival Partners. That's the name of his business. You look up on there and you will see all of the webinars from Dr. Tom Lewis. Well, this is a slide from one of his presentations specifically about the test that he does called the CDT. That's the test that you do with us. The Chronic Disease Temperature Panel is what he calls it. And the reason he calls it a temperature panel is because he tells you whether or not your health has a fever or not. A fever. Yeah. Air quote, fever. So what he does is he says everybody starts on a baseline of 98.6 degrees, just like you would with a normal body temperature, right? And depending on your risk factors for certain diseases, he will say, well, you have a temperature of say 101 when it comes to heart disease risk,
Right.
or 103 when it comes to stroke risk, or maybe 98.6. You're right on the baseline for brain disease. So
Right.
basically, you're okay for brain disease, but we're seeing something in these markers that says that there's going to be something in your future if you don't change. Something's going to happen with your heart. Something's going to happen with stroke. You better be careful. So it's a great way. It's a great diagnostic tool to say, wow, what am I doing now that could affect me in the future?
Right.
Right. So it'll, and in
And
fact,
how can we switch it up? And what do we need to do to switch it up?
yeah. And in fact, there's one person that's on our program her sister had died of a stroke at her age, her older sister. So now she saw her sister pass, and now she's getting up to that age. Didn't think anything of her diet and lifestyle had anything to do with it, but her stroke risk was really high. It was like 103 or something like that, as I recall. And we got to talking about, and we didn't know about her sister, so we got to talking about this, and she mentioned, oh yeah, my sister died of a stroke, da 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 da, and then she went, oh, and she just realized, oh my goodness. I'm that age now that my sister died. And then, oh, wow, all the lights start going off in her brain. Like, oh, wow, my chronic disease temperature panel, my CDT, showed me that I had a high risk of stroke. Right. I'm doing the same things as my sister. Oh, my gosh, I have to change. That was a great aha moment for her. And that's the whole point of our whole program, by the way, is just so you can see what's going on and make changes so that you don't end up like your parents. You don't end up like your siblings or whatever. Whoever has that genetic predisposition to any kind of disease, you can change things, because you know what? Diet and lifestyle trump disease every time.
Right.
Because diet and lifestyle control genetic expression. So I put it like this. You hear me telling people this, that if you have a hand grenade, say you had a hand grenade with the pin still in it, like one from World War II or something like that, as long as you don't pull that pin, you're fine, right? Okay. So having a genetic predisposition to any kind of disease is like having an unexploded hand grenade with the pin still in it in the corner of your living room. And you leave it there forever.
Right.
The threat is there, but if you don't pull the pin, you're in no danger. Your diet and lifestyle are either pulling the pin or putting the pin back where it belongs. Right. If you look after yourself, genetic predisposition does not mean you are predisposed 100% to get that disease. Like, for example, Hollywood actresses. Who was the one who had a genetic mutation that said that she was absolutely going to get breast cancer?
Oh, gosh.
That was Tom Cruise's wife. What was her name?
Katie Holmes?
Not Katie Holmes, no. Not Tom Cruise's wife.
Nicole Kidman?
Brad Pitt's wife.
Jennifer Aniston?
Nope, right. Anyway, I don't know.
Angelina Jolie?
Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
She said, thank you, yes, she said, I'm absolutely going to get breast cancer. The only solution that the medical community is telling me is I have to cut off both breasts and then I'm fine. So that's what she did, double mastectomy, without having anything wrong with her other than seeing this this genetic mutation in her blood work. Right. And was that necessary? I don't know, but that you don't need to go to those extreme measures. If she would only recognize that that was an unexploded grenade in her life, that she did have control over that, and just she never knew that. Right. Her solution was just cutting things off. And that doesn't necessarily work, because cancer is not, cancer of the breast or cancer of the colon, cancer of the testicles, wherever cancer of the brain, wherever it is, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong in the brain or wherever you found the cancer. It's just the weak link in your body. That's all. Cancer takes the path of least resistance. Whatever part of your body is weakest, cancer is systemic, and it will slither around like a snake and attack the weak part. Right. That's what it'll do. So if you have a weakness, a genetic predisposition in your brain, in your breast, in your colon, wherever, it's going to attack that. If you look after yourself, it will not attack.
And you obviously have a weak
genetic predisposition to colon cancer.
Exactly.
Because both of my parents had colon cancer. Now, they both survived it, and as a matter of fact, after we taught them about better lifestyle changes, now there's many ways to do lifestyle changes, by the way. My parents, the stuff that I knew at the time, I knew that a vegan diet, I don't like saying vegan because Doritos and Coke are vegan, but
correct.
A whole food plant-based diet. I taught that to my parents. That was a new paradigm to them.
Right.
And so they did that. And then what they did was after they had colon cancer, they had to get a colonoscopy every year to see if they were okay. And they always had polyps, and the doctor had to pull out the polyps, to, take it for a biopsy, see if it was okay, all that type of thing. Well, after they started the whole food plant-based diet that I taught them,
yeah,
they went for colonoscopies every year, and every year since then, they had no polyps.
No polyps.
Zero. And so there's that way to heal. The way that we teach you in the biologic blueprint is slightly different, but it will also teach you to heal.
Right.
There are many ways to heal, and now we're starting to figure this out because the world is kind of coming away from putting GMO plants in the ground and feeding animals things they wouldn't normally eat. Those are the things that are causing us disease, and putting everything on the shelf in a can, all that type of stuff. We're gradually kind of rewinding from that, and as we do that, we're finding a lot more options to be as healthy as the 100-year-old grandparents that we have.
Right.
Rather than being sick and dying at 55 years old like mom and dad are right now, right?
Right.
So anyway, long story short, that was just a little expose on
your soapbox.
Not my soapbox, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. It's my Facebook show. What are you going to do about it? Okay, Anyway, so let's go back to Dr. Tom's presentation here about the chronic disease temperature.
You haven't even put that slide up yet.
Well, here we go.
All
okay.
Right.
So this is where he talks about vitamin D. This is a very long presentation. Over 100 slides he has in this one.
160.
Is it 160?
I think so.
So this one was page 99, if I remember correctly. So he's talking about the chronic disease markers, and the chronic disease temperature markers. This is marker number 15. He actually goes through every marker in the whole
so if you want an idea on how our blood test works, this is the slide, or this is the PowerPoint presentation to do that. You'll find out everything that you're going to find out.
Yep, and you can actually find this. Jodi, you told me where to find this. It is on healthrevivalpartners.com.
Yep.
And you can look in, where do we look for this?
Under books.
Under books, and then that's where all of his PowerPoint presentations are. He just puts them all up there for free. Anybody can access them. And this one is about the chronic disease temperature, CDT panel. In there, you can see all the detail of what this is all about. Some of it you may not understand without Dr. Tom's explanation, but anyway, that's where you can find out about all this. And again, we do that test in our Biologic Blueprint Wellness Program. You will get every single marker, all 160 pages worth on that PowerPoint.
Plus 12 weeks of us walking you through it.
Yep. Whatever you find out in your blood test, we walk you through a diet and lifestyle program to match whatever it is that you need to reverse in your life. Okay, so now here's the thing about vitamin D. This is what I want you to concentrate on at the very bottom of the page. Go ahead.
It's not a vitamin.
Right, it is not a vitamin. Number. Let's start at the top. That's a good idea. It's a hormone. So you think about this. This regulates. It doesn't regulate. It's an important part of your entire endocrine system. So you're talking about thyroid. You're talking about all the other hormones in your body. If there's any hormones out of whack and you can't figure out what's going on, look at your vitamin D level.
Right.
That is really easy and really cheap to find out if you're low.
And everybody should know their vitamin D number. I heard Billy Weiss say that years ago, and probably 9 years ago now, and I was like, I really don't know my vitamin D number.
Huh.
I do now, but everybody should know their vitamin D number because that's how important it is.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's and it's really cheap to find out. And
yes.
By the way, if you have had a blood test recently and you did get vitamin D, but you're not sure how to read your blood test results, look on there. It'll say how many nanograms per milliliter, and it should say between 80 and 100. That's where you want to be, between 80 and 100. We have some folks who started this program, but who, by the way, were not light-skinned like us. There's one guy who was a Hispanic, and he had a vitamin D level of 14. That is way low. We are going to get him to ramp up his vitamin D, and we have easy ways to do that.
Yeah.
And then he'll be out of that danger zone. Now, by the way, so it is not a vitamin. We call it a vitamin, but it's a hormone, like Jodi said. And when needed, an activated form of vitamin D is produced in the liver. That's D3. Activated vitamin D helps you to down-regulate inflammation. And the most important part is at the bottom, accompanied by a little cartoon. Cancer is a disease of uncontrollable cell growth. Vitamin D, as we saw in that study, is involved in ensuring normal cell growth. And how does it do that? It stops the progression of cancer cells, which are a hallmark of cells out of control. You see how this works? Vitamin D kind of regulates everything. It's the conductor of the orchestra. Without vitamin D, everything gets out of whack.
Right.
So, and everything, because now they're finding out that vitamin D is involved in almost every cell in the body. That's why a lot of doctors are now saying, maybe we need more than 400 IU per day, which is the normal medical recommendation for vitamin D. I personally take 5 to 10,000 every day, even in the summer. Okay. And that's how you get up to that 80 to 100 level, and you keep it there. You got to take it every. Well, it's a fat soluble vitamin, so it stays in your body for longer. But it's a good idea just to keep it there by taking it every day.
Shout out to Chris Clark, who looked it up for us and found the link and put it in our Facebook Live comments.
Oh, thank you, Chris. So look in the comments. Thank you, Chris. Chris is awesome. We love Chris and Chelsea. They turn their whole family's health around. These are little kids.
Wait, no, not Chris Tebow.
Chris Tebow? Oh, Chris Clark.
Chris Clark.
Oh, Chris Clark. Well, Chris Clark also has a little one at home. So congratulations to Chris and Giselle on their first little baby. But yes, that baby's not eating fishy crackers or anything yet. So Chris, don't eat the fishy crackers. Call me. I'll help you figure it out. We'll get you on the good stuff, okay?
Yeah.
So now, vitamin D and sunlight. Take a look at this map. So this is, again, from Dr. Lewis's PowerPoint presentation. Look in the north there. Very little sunlight hitting the earth, in the summertime. And now look at the bottom here. The cancer death rates of all types go up as there is lower sunlight. So now look, see up in say for example in Maine and up there, you get to 300s, and up in like the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, 350, because it's raining there all the time. I grew up in Vancouver, okay? And then you go down to places like Hollywood and Miami, Florida, at 500. So that tells you that that's more sunlight down there. So cancer deaths go up, as you see in the black square, as the sun goes down.
Wow.
So it's really important to have vitamin D. Is it any wonder that God sort of like gravitates all older people who need more vitamin D down to Florida when they retire? That's a pretty smart move, actually.
That's where I'm going.
That's where I'm going too. Pretty soon you're going to see Laird Wellness out of Florida, okay? So that'll be a good thing. Now, here's another thing that indicates that how important vitamin D is, okay? So this is again from Dr. Lewis's presentation. This is early mortality. On the left, you'll see all-cause mortality, and on the bottom, you will see how many nanograms per milliliter of vitamin D. That's your level.
Okay,
you're 80 to 100 or whatever. So obviously you can see the green square at the end where mortality kind of levels out when you get at least 50 nanograms per milliliter up to 70 or even more.
Okay.
And the standard of care, that's what the regular doctors, that's what the medical community will tell you, 30 to 100. 30 is not enough.
Ooh.
You got to get at least 40, and I would say even that is low.
I would too.
Dr. Lewis, in fact, on his results will actually say we want you at least, 70 or 55, somewhere around there?
I thought it was about 55.
55, yeah. So I'm right on the baseline because I had a result of 57, which I was kind of surprised at. I thought it was higher than that. So even I need to bring mine up.
And you're pretty consistent with taking your vitamin D.
Absolutely.
I'm consistent as well, but I also take the 50,000 a little bit more than you do.
Yep.
So I'll take like 5 to 10,000 a day. But every couple of weeks I'll throw in a 50,000.
Right.
Just to
now
get me
people
up
might
there.
say, oh, do I have to take a supplement? Well, if you work indoors, like a lot of people do, yeah. If you work outside, maybe not so much. You'll probably get a lot of vitamin D. But at the same time, you also need to make sure you're not getting burned, right? Remember what we said about not getting burned? And so that's why you see folks who work in the landscaping industry often wearing big hats, and they're always wearing full sleeve shirts. Right. That's smart because you don't want to get burned, but you do want to get some vitamin D. So everyone's concerned about getting outside and getting some vitamin D, but you don't want to burn. So those who work inside and you go out on the weekend and you're weekend warriors and you get tons of sunlight, those are the people. You know what? Those are the people that actually get more melanoma. Everybody says, "Oh, those guys who work outside on road crews, they're the ones that get melanoma." Nuh-uh, it's the office workers. Because they stay inside all the time and then they overdo it on the weekend and burn themselves. And then, you will get melanoma. Yeah. You will have skin cancer problems. So you've got to regulate it. And a good way to regulate it, if you have to work inside, take a vitamin D supplement. You know, I always say we have technology to fight technology.
Right.
As we have that technology that's creating GMOs and all this kind of thing and having us work indoors and wearing, you know, rubber on our soles so our feet are not touching the ground and we're getting ungrounded and there's pollution and we're driving in cars, blah, 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 blah. All the things wrong with today's society. Yeah, we need in today's society the opposite effect. We need the technology that's being used to create the supplements in order to fight off all those things. You do need supplements because of the world we live in and the way we live. It's just a way of life now. So unless you're going to live out on a farm or go hunting in the forest barefoot like we used to, a couple hundred years ago, you're going to need some supplements. It's just the way it goes. Yeah. But thankfully, we do have those supplements. Yehovah knew we were going to need those, and he created the people that had the skills to make them. So take advantage of it, okay?
Right.
All right, so if you want to take advantage of knowing more about this kind of stuff, go to our lairdwellness.com/blueprint page. What's that going to take you to? It's going to take you to a scheduling page where you can book a half hour with me. I'll explain all about all the benefits that our program has. And you can decide, yeah, that's for me, or no, that's fine, but I'd like to tell somebody else about it. That's fine too. Okay, so just go in there and book schedule an appointment, and we will talk to you soon. And by the way, since we talked about vitamin D, we want to give you a little gift. Save 15% on any vitamin D that we sell. We actually have two different kinds.
Right.
One that is 5,000 IU and one that is 50,000 IU. If you're really low and you need to ramp it up, take the 50,000 IU, text me. I'll tell you how to do that. Anyway, both of those vitamin D products are on our store, and if you put them in your cart, you will get 15% off either one of those with promo code D15, okay? Now, right now, it is time for Shabbat Night Live. So we want you to go to ShabbatNightLive.com because I had the privilege of interviewing Joel Richardson. Nice. Joel Richardson is an awesome guy, and he has this amazing, I don't want to call it a theory, it's a discovery that he found in the Bible. Something you may have never heard before. I never heard this. I thought it was fantastic and out of this world and thought he's a little bit off his nut. But when he explained it to me, it was amazing. He says that he finds in Isaiah, between Isaiah and Revelation and all kinds of correlations, that Yeshua, when he comes back, he doesn't land on the Mount of Olives. He actually comes to Mount Sinai first. Gathers everyone to Mount Sinai in Arabia, goes back through the Red Sea, and destroying his armies as he goes, and ends up at the Mount of Olives. Cool story.
Wow.
So anyway, he is doing an episode tonight that the series is called The Highway in the Desert, is what Joel calls it. And tonight's episode is the Sinai marriage covenant. How the Torah is not just the law or the instructions or what Christians think is oppressive, because it's not. I mean, if you search out the Torah, it's a beautiful thing. And in fact, it is so beautiful, it is the marriage covenant. It is like it's the agreement between God, Yehovah, and his people, all who would call themselves Israel or foreign strangers who do want to become Israel. It's the marriage covenant, and that's what he's talking about tonight. It's a great teaching. You're going to want to share it with friends. Go to ShabbatNightLive.com. And by the way, please pray for Joel. Yeah. Okay. His family is going through a rough time right now because his wife is ill. She's in the hospital, and she's in great pain. Joel did not want to share with me what that was about, but he said it was okay for me to share at least that much with you. Please join us in sharing, in praying for Joel's wife, because they have kids at home. He needs her at home. He's tortured about it. He doesn't know what to do because there's nothing he can do. So he needs a touch from Yehovah. If you would actually please pray for him and his wife, that she would be able to come home, be healed, and the pain would be gone. Okay? All right. Thank you for that. We thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time on Laird Wellness Live. We thank you for joining us, and talk to you soon.
All right.